right, guys, welcome to another episode of Mom Talks with Krista. I am so excited for this episode. We have Jenney and Trish here from It's My Leche, and we're going to be talking about brilliant breast milk, nutrients about breast milk, how to freeze dry breast milk, and just so many amazing things. I wish I knew about this brand so much sooner. So I hope all you moms listening out there can learn a lot today. So welcome, guys. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having us. We're excited to chat.
Of course. So just to get started, can you guys just tell us a little bit about yourselves and then about It's My Leche?
Absolutely. I'm Jenney Korasick. I am co-founder of It's My Leche. I have a background in marketing, and Trish and I were friends for a number of years before we started on our motherhood journey together, and pretty quickly realized we had the same storage problem with our breast milk, that our freezers were filling up. Our expiration dates were coming quickly to an end, and we wanted to find a way to really use our breast milk in a better way. And thus, It's My Leche was born. We were like, we can figure this out. We're moms that have a problem. We can't be the only ones that have this problem. And quickly we realized that what we created out of a need for storage and a storage solution was a solution that could help so many more families in so many more ways.
Yeah, I think Jenney nailed it. Our journey started with a problem that we solved for ourselves, and now we are able to hopefully help a lot more other moms with that problem. Just for me, my name is Trish Clifford, co-founder, and my background is a little bit more in the food and nutrition industry. So had a little bit of understanding on food preservation and the technology behind it. So as we came and as Jenney mentioned, saw this problem, my brain started ticking on, hey, how can we take such a precious resource and essentially turn it into something shelf stable? And, I kind of go down these nerdy rabbit holes and really found out that freeze drying was not only something that's been around for a long time, since actually World War II, when it really started gaining a lot of traction during the Cold War. And the technology has just advanced so much. And so we dug into, hey, this is for all pharmaceuticals, for food industries, all across the board. How can we implement this technology and essentially, save every last drop of our liquid gold and preserve it and make it last and hold all the nutrients, benefits, bioactive properties from it. So, adding in both Jenney and I, our personal problem, and then our unique skills, we built and started Leche.
That's awesome. As I was just saying before we kind of started here is I wish I would have known about this sooner because I have a small stash, but I don't have the space for it. So I can totally relate to the problem you guys are talking about because we didn't have a deep freezer. And with all the other stuff in our freezer, it was hard. So we had two little areas where I could put the breast milk. And now I'm like, oh, how can I save some more room? So this is awesome.
It's a real thing. I remember my husband coming home one day and he was just like, we don't get to have food in the freezer anymore. And I was just like, no, it's all breast milk. Like, I can't, what am I going to do with this? I can't, I've donated, I've shared it. I've given as much as I can, but the freezer is still full. And so one of the amazing things that we learned in this is we were solving for storage, but with that we gained the knowledge of the best preservation methods, being able to travel with it more. It's lighter, it's not frozen, it's not going to spill, it's not going to leak. So the convenience and flexibility for moms, the idea of preserving things if there's a power outage or some sort of natural disaster, which we're both based in SoCal, so that's a very big possibility at any given time. So all these other things that we were realizing that help really take the mental load off of a mom's shoulders of what's happening with it. Is it going to expire? Is my fridge is the power going to go out? And then just recently we're learning too about freeze drying being even a solution for high lipase moms. So there's just so many things that we're learning as the technology evolves, as our business evolves, and how we can help moms.
Yeah, that's amazing. So kind of starting with the basics, what are these key
Yeah.
nutrients that are found in breast milk and why are they so essential for baby's growth and development?
So, we could probably have a whole podcast just on that.
Totally.
But it's just, the research, everything has shown And it continues to show so many unique properties of breast milk. And essentially, Jenney and I have always, you know, talked about in the beginning of our business is this is your first food and it's also your first medicine. And those two combinations are a very unique thing to breast milk because you have the nutrients you need to grow, develop, that are specifically designed for babies and infants, human infants especially. And then also it has all of these bioactive properties from antibodies to active cells within breast milk, helping not only to, change your gut, your microbiome, but also to essentially be a medicine from the antibodies and so forth. So there's just so many cool and new things also coming out with breast milk. And I could, talk your ear off on all the benefits, but what we're learning is not only is it so precious and has all these different properties, it's very unique. And every single mom's breast milk is designed not only from their body, but for their baby. And there's so many cool, unique properties and information we can kind of dig into, not just on the like societal level, but on the individual level. And, we get excited about just all the technology, not just on the preservation side, but also what is happening with breast milk and how do we make sure not an ounce of it is wasted? And how do we also take that and, I'll take our freeze-dried breast milk here. How do we take that precious resource and also open it up to different channels? So it's a nutritional supplement, but also you can use it with first foods, adding in, you can use it with bath, skincare. There's so many other properties for breast milk that you can kind of open up these doors for moms and give them opportunities to use. So I think that's a little bit, but I can go again deeper on all the cool stuff with it.
Yeah, I was just talking to someone about like my daughter has, I think, had every kind of skin ailment, and I've used breast milk to solve like every single one. It's just amazing, especially when she was so little. You don't want to put anything like crazy or on their skin. Just put a couple of drops of breast milk, and it was so healing. It was just amazing.
Have you tried it on your own skin? Because your
I
skin is
have.
beautiful, by the way. Okay.
Oh, thank you. It's glowing. No, it's the light probably, but
You have
yeah,
a little breast
I know
milk
I
glow.
saw someone was sharing about using it as like a mask and like having it sit on your skin for a while. So I was doing that for a little while, or I
Yeah.
put on blemishes before.
And
We've
even
had some of our
burns.
moms doing burns
Yeah,
and
like kids and adult burns. It's incredible.
and facials with like a frozen
Mhm.
breast milk block. It's just like, a day at the spa.
I know I want to save it forever because it's like you never know when you're gonna need it. Yeah, like you're just saying, I feel like I could talk about it forever. I mean, the sickness, all that, it's been a lifesaver having. So let's jump into the freeze drying process because I'm so interested by it. And how does it differ from other preservation methods?
I'm going to let Trish answer kind of the science behind it, but we get this question a lot, freezer versus freeze dry. And a lot of people have, even just on social recently, been saying, oh, just buy a food dehydrator from Amazon. And we're like, no, don't do that because dehydration is not the same thing as freeze drying. And I'll let Trish take that over, but that's like one thing we want to say loud and clear to kick off this part of the conversation for sure.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it seems really complex, but actually it's not. It's just taking an environment and then allowing that to essentially pull the water out. So the beautiful thing with freeze drying is you do not have to actually use heat onto the product. So your product during the process, so your breast milk stays completely frozen. And the reason for that is essentially based on what environment that you are creating. So in a freeze dryer chamber, essentially you load in your product frozen. Sometimes you can do it fresh, but for us on the breast milk side, we always it's comes to us frozen. It's sent in frozen. And through that process, you take it to a very, very low temperature, the entire chamber. And then you essentially drop pressure down and to create an environment that is very similar to like outer space. And that's the best I can explain it, is it's no gravity. It's kind of like a pure zero pressure environment. And from that, you're able to essentially use these trays that they're sitting on and heat up the trays, not the product, just the trays. And that allows you to pull the water out of the breast milk. And it immediately turns into like a gas. And then the gas vapor is sucked out of the chamber through a vacuum. And then once you essentially release off that environment, it's all that water is just sitting outside and you've got your product that is freeze dried. So there is heat element, but it's never actually touched onto your breast milk. And that is kind of the beautiful part of this method is any other types, whether it's different types of pasteurization, even dehydration, you are still using a certain level of heat, even if it's low temperature, to be able to essentially extract and evaporate the water, but freeze drying is not. So you get to essentially have this preservation method and remove the water without adding any heat to the product. And that's why it's a lot of times used as the preferred method for pharmaceuticals. And even a space astronaut food is freeze dried for the longevity shelf life. So you see it across multiple channels, and it's the preferred because of that. It's as perfect as it was essentially prior to going in the freeze dryer.
With no heat. That's not killing anything. And that's really the biggest thing with something like breast milk that is so bioactive, right? We want to preserve as many of those properties for baby as possible. And so that's why when people say, you know, the deep freezer, we see those bioactive properties start to decline nutritionally starting at around 4 months. And, you know, other preservation methods that include, you know, heat are not a good solution for something as precious and, you know, active as breast milk is.
Yeah, I remember hearing that about like freezing it for too long, like they can start losing its nutrients. And I feel like this just takes the guesswork out of like, oh, has it been in there too long, or how's it going to taste to baby once I thaw it out? Because that was one of my biggest concerns too, because I know some women get a lot of like high lipase in their frozen milk too. And we're going to talk about that later as well. But jumping in, what are the benefits of freeze drying breast milk and like for both mother and baby?
Yeah, I think we touched on it sort of at the top of the episode too. I think the biggest thing that we see with our moms, and this is just kind of like a blanket statement, other than the nutrient preservation, other than the ease of travel, it really is helping them with the mental load. You know, we have so many moms write to us and say, listen, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but you saved me 45 minutes today because I forgot to prep bottles for daycare. I realized I had 2 of my Leche, you know, Premier sachets in my glove box. I was able to give them to my daycare provider, and you know, I didn't have to be late for work, or I didn't have to take the morning off of work to go all the way back to get, you know, milk for my baby. So it's little things that we as a community, as moms first who created this company, really want to make life a little bit easier for breastfeeding moms. And it's already a really tough journey, especially if you're committed to doing it for a year or 2 years. The more convenience and flexibility we can give them, the better. The other benefit on that side too is bringing other people into the journey with them. So caregivers, partners, you know, imagine that 4 a.m. feeding, you know, a partner can a little bit more easily go downstairs, whip up a bottle, a couple scoops, and a little warm water, and you're ready to go versus thawing, prepping, spilling, wasting. And that to us is a huge win as well.
This is so cool. I mean, holding on to the nutrients itself is just like the biggest thing. And the ease, like I can imagine just grabbing it and just having it, knowing that you can travel with it, like you guys were kind of talking about earlier. And so we kind of touched on lipase. So how does freeze drying affect the lipase, and what kind of steps do you guys take to make sure to kind of like address the issue of high lipase?
Yeah, one funny thing, and I'll let Trish jump in on sort of the science behind lipase and sort of oxidation, but one funny thing that we learned really early on, this is years before we were ever even like on the market. Trish and I were doing a bunch of taste testing, and freeze-dried breast milk tastes more like fresh breast milk. And then we're like, what's going on here? There's like, you can clearly taste the difference with frozen breast milk. And so, you know, whatever reaction that, you know, it's not really meant to cause a reaction, like, but we needed to taste it because that was like, this is our product. This is what we're like, this is what we're putting out in the market. So how do we get to know it better? And like one really interesting thing is that freeze-dried breast milk tastes a lot more like fresh breast milk. And that kind of led us down into, I think, the research path a little bit more with the lipase issue, which a lot of moms suffer from. And it can be heartbreaking if you have a stash and you work so hard for it, then you realize your baby doesn't want to drink it. And a lot of moms think it's spoiled or it's gone sour. And if that's not the case and it is lipase, it has a like soapy metallic or even sometimes like fishy smell to it, freeze drying is a good option. And I think Trish can jump into the science a little bit behind it.
Yeah, I think we hear a lot about high lipase, and it's a lot more common today because the accessibility to pumps and to actually storing your milk is way more prevalent, and it's phenomenal for moms. But the one thing that we always want to be, clear with to moms is high lipase does not mean your breast milk is bad. Lipase is an enzyme that is beneficial and needed in breast milk in order to break down the fats. And that is a very unique thing to human milk. One of the reasons too that human milk is so specifically designed and why the lipase is so important is human milk is essentially designed to break the fat cells up pretty quickly so that eventually it could go straight to your brain for development. And that's something a little bit unique to breast milk as opposed to like a cow's milk or a different animal. And so high lipase is good because it's like a robot, right? This lipase goes in and it's just overreacting and breaking down the fats very quickly. And so it's because of that, there's a certain essentially like effect that comes from the high lipase where when you actually look at the breast milk, either smell it or taste it, it has this weird fishy metallic smell, and babies will refuse it just because of those different properties, effects that are coming from high lipase. And so moms are always going, oh my gosh, what's wrong? They don't like my breast milk. What did I do? And it's like, there's nothing you did wrong. You actually have an enzyme that's working properly and breaking down the fats. It's just, as we've developed and evolved and had all these new tools and technology to be able to store milk the way we haven't years and hundreds of years ago, that effect is being seen in our milk sitting in the fridge and in the freezer. So lipase, the cool thing about freeze drying is essentially once your product or your breast milk is completely frozen, it kind of stops. It's like, the robot, I like to call lipase the robot, but it like freezes, right? Until it's ready to de-thaw and like start working again. Mm-hmm. And when it's completely frozen, it'll freeze and it inactivates it. When you do that with freeze drying, it does the exact same thing, but you do not have a water content now. So that enzyme stays completely inactive until water is reintroduced. But by the time you're actually taking breast milk, like freeze-dried breast milk in a bottle, the bottle's already drank. The effects it's not sitting in there and keep working to bring those effects. So there's a huge benefit because right now a lot of moms will essentially take their breast milk and heat it up to a high level to stop and eliminate that effect. And unfortunately with high heat, when you're boiling, scalding, any of that, you also are killing a lot of the good stuff. So freeze drying allows you to inactivate that lipase, essentially put it on pause, make the robot, stay still, and then still keep all of the benefits of your breast milk. And again, one of the things like high lipase is not bad. It's essentially working a little too hard. And that's why there's some of the effects from there. And freeze drying is the preferred way to inactivate it and then also allow you to preserve it for a longer period.
And we're seeing a lot of interest in this. Like it's becoming kind of like a hot topic for moms who feel, again, super defeated that they have an entire freezer stash that they think their baby's not going to drink. So, the freeze drying is a great option for a lot of moms. It is still an investment in sort of preserving your stash. It's an investment in yourself and in your baby's journey, the breastfeeding journey. We are going to be creating some new options. What we actually learned in our process, you want to show them our cool breast milk storage bag. So we have, as part of our shipping kit, which by the way, when you place your order with Leche, you get everything you need to start on a freeze drying journey. So you get a pharmaceutical grade cooler, you get your mailer box back, you get our cute little booby tape, which people really love. You get your prepaid overnight FedEx shipping label. So all of that's included in the purchase. The other thing that we include in the shipping kit is this amazing breast milk bag. Trish can show it here as a visual. There it is. Oh, it's so pretty. So all of your storage, your breast milk storage bags go into this giant teal breast milk bag that we designed. And what we realized is that this bag is, I mean, we had originally designed it to be both like, you know, UV barrier, like something that holds the temperature really, really well. What we realize is it actually is going to make a really wonderful lipase barrier bag because it's not going to be exposed to light. It's just going to, it's even quicker to freeze. The temperature control is just so much better. So we're going to be coming out with something, you know, specifically for moms who are worried about lipase, just even in storage, to help them along in their, you know, pumping and feeding journey as well.
Yeah, when
love
we
that.
we were originally coming up with the concept and did a launch group, we knew that the shipping component is not just a part of the experience for the mom, but it has to be on a level of safety and high quality that we weren't willing to budge on at all. So when we custom designed this bag, the large, we were saying, okay, there's no light, the milk's protected, it keeps it cool, thinking about all these different properties to make sure during the shipment, if anything were to happen, it's your milk is like secured, protected. And we're the only breast milk freeze drying service that does that. And we know, like Jenney said, we noticed is, okay, wait, these are the same properties we need to do for our high lipase mamas. Like, okay, our big bag is now going to be a small one. Like we already custom designed, we thought about all this. So we're really excited because, you know, we already have our Leche, you know, regular storage bags that are double sealed, BPA free. I mean, they do not leak. We spent a lot of time in this too, because from our own journey, we realized so many of the bags, you pull them out of the freezer and the next thing you know, you're putting them in a warmer and it's leaking and you see all the water inside your warmer all.
And that's waste. And that's waste. And that like is heartbreaking.
Oh, it's happened to me. It was the worst.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally the first time I ever took my daughter anywhere, I was like, oh, I'll just take this bag out of the freezer. By the time we get there, it will be thawed. Of course, you know, this is prior to all the days of like, you know, the cute little coolers you can carry around with you. It was literally just sitting in the bag and it was everywhere. And then I felt like I had like nothing to feed her. And so it was, you know, like all these little things again that are just that mental load that comes on top of mom, like in this journey, like let's just make it easier for her because breastfeeding is hard as it is. So
Yeah. Yeah. I love this because this could potentially save so much breast milk because I see all the time, like in our Facebook groups, I see on our like mommy boards, like people talking about like my baby refuses my breast milk. I have to throw out my whole freezer stash. And it's like gut wrenching. Like you think of all the
don't
work
send them
and
our way. Send them our way.
because like when you think about it that way, it's like if you have to throw it out, like it's worth the investment because think of like all the hours you put into that breast milk and that's your baby needs that. So
100%.
this could save so much.
And that's one of
100%.
the things, and we can talk a little bit more about it, but one of our biggest goals with starting the company is solving a problem and realizing how many other problems are just within this industry that have not been tackled for moms. Our biggest goal, and you know, we'll be able to touch base a little bit on it, but is how can we bring more options to moms on their own breastfeeding journey, as well as their infant feeding journey. And we can essentially create a fill in the gap and create a whole new infant feeding vertical for these moms so that they feel empowered, not only by what they are feeding, but how they're going about it. So if they're, you know, putting every effort, hour into that one last drop, like that should be preserved. Or if they have an oversupply, how can we take care of them and be able to give to others? So the community aspect, as well as the problems that we've seen, have completely changed and evolved our business in a way that we now see even more opportunities to help moms in any way we can, from creating the new bag. Okay, we're going to make a new lipase bag, right? To other ways too. We're super excited to essentially do that so moms start to feel supported and empowered by their journey.
Yeah. I love how you guys talked about too, like incorporating the freeze-dried breast milk into like toddler foods or once baby starts eating solids. Cause that was probably one of the most like, I would say stressful, getting baby to start eating solids. Cause you're like, you know, they're getting this good nutrition with breast milk. And then you're like, wait, are they getting as much nutrition? Like I'm still breastfeeding my daughter, but I'm like, when I stop, like, will she? So I like the idea of like having freeze-dried breast milk to like mix in here and there, or
You
add
can
it
mix it
into
with
things.
everything, yeah, and, the fun thing is it's not liquid. So, like, if you were to take a puree and then try to add liquid breast milk to it, it's gonna become really runny, and you're not gonna get all
Mm.
the food nutrients to it either. So I think, like, if you imagine mashing it up with avocado, making a guacamole type, consistency, it's still gonna retain that consistency. And, smoothies, oats, cereals, yogurt, toast. Like you can sprinkle it on pasta if you want to. It's like it's really funny because it's almost like the consistency of I don't know if you're familiar, but you will be soon since your daughter is one. But like Pirates booty, like the
Oh,
dust on the outside of
yeah.
Pirates booty, it's kind of like that. Like you can
Hmm.
sprinkle it on there. So it's like it's really fun to get creative with it. I think that like we found when we started using it as like in our own toddlers feeding journeys, like you can get really creative with it. Mac and cheese, there are endless ways to add it in there.
And one of
Yeah.
the interesting things, and I know, we talked a little bit about the benefits of breast milk at the beginning, and again, we could talk for hours on it, but the the breast milk that we see, like from especially 0 to 6 months and beyond, is so focused on building your microbiome.
Mhm.
And it is such a huge component to breast milk as it is how do we prep the baby's stomach to be able to introduce these new foods, to take in all these different things. So when you then start to introduce foods and you have essentially your breast milk that is teaching your microbiome, your gut, how to digest, how to take these nutrients and break them apart for your body, you almost are getting both of those at the same time. That's why, too, they medical pediatricians, the advice around is breastfeed as long as you can, up to 2 years, right? Or get up to a year, because if you can incorporate from, 6 months, 12 months and beyond, introducing still your breast milk while they're building that their gut and their microbiome, it's so beneficial for the long term of your baby. So there's that benefits too. If you cannot, for some reason, extend that journey, whatever it might be, we can keep this freeze-dried breast milk, and throughout that 6 months, 12 months to 18 months, you can incorporate still a little bit into it, fortifying it so that they still get that development of introducing the first foods as well as incorporating your breast milk.
Even in toddler milks too, when you transition to any other milks that you might be transitioning to, whether it be toddler formula or toddler milk, like just you can add a little bit of your breast milk into it as well.
That is awesome. I'm learning so much. I love the science behind it. This is really interesting. And so I also want to talk about shelf life because I think that's a common topic when it comes to breast milk. We want to know how long
Mhm.
things are going to last. As moms, we're busy, we kind of I think a lot of things run on like shelf life. Like when can I use this by? So let's talk about shelf life of freeze-dried breast milk as it compares to fresh or frozen breast milk.
Yep, absolutely. It's so once freeze dried and it's sealed, it's good for 3 years on the shelf. And we say 3 years because that's as long as we've been able to internally test for. But historically, freeze dried goods can last up to like 30 years, which is just absolutely mind boggling. But 3 years is a really like you could even be saving for the next baby too. So I think like thinking about preserving something so precious for that long, most moms are going to use it prior, but knowing that it can sit in the back of your pantry in a cool dry place or wherever you decide to save it outside of the freezer or fridge for up to 3 years is an amazing convenience for a lot of parents.
Wow, that's so awesome. Because yeah, we were just talking about I made like a video not that long ago talking about like the shelf life when it comes to frozen and fresh breast milk. And I was
Yeah.
saying how even that differs so much. Like I remember the like little magnet I got from the hospital and it said like a certain thing. But then when I got home, I saw something else online. And I was like, so I would just kind of stay within it because I was like, I don't know, like sometimes they say 4 days, sometimes or 4 hours, sometimes they say 3 hours. And so I was like, there's such a wide range. So knowing that you can freeze dry and have it last that long is such a like a big stress relief.
I think about it like just so I can remember I've like kind of forgotten about it, but I like remember it like it's yesterday, if that makes sense. Like when you're going back to work, for instance, this is like, Leche is an amazing option for moms who choose to go back to work, or maybe, always plan to go back to work. But I would be going back to work and I'd have to shuffle this whole system in the freezer of like using in the fridge too, of like storing the milk that was pumped by what day, and then rotating the milk that was in the freezer from what week, and mixing with fresh, and this like complex like Tetris of just milk management that is overwhelming, especially when you're already making a big transition to work. And then you think about like mentally, like, I'm going back to work, I'm going into an office place, I'm going to be pumping. There's so many added pressures on moms today. Like, if we can make that easier and just say like, nope, it's just, one scoop, 5-gram scoop and, the 2 ounces of water, or the 10-gram scoop and 4 ounces water, make a bottle. Like, how much, that's so easy, and there's no waste involved, and there's no like this mental like gymnastics that we're doing around like our breast milk storage is just like, relief, so just something like when we're thinking about all those expiration dates, like there's a lot of pressure on us to get it right, and this helps alleviate a lot of that.
Yeah, it sounds like it really takes out the guesswork, because I feel like as
Totally.
moms too, we have like so much of like mental load of just keeping track of things, remembering things. So it's nice to just have like one thing you're like, okay, I grab it and it's good.
Totally.
So crazy.
Absolutely.
How you said milk management. I've never thought about like that, but actually the time and effort that mothers have to go with just every week, from staying home or daycare, the milk management. I mean, that alone is like a full-time job. On
It
top of
totally
pumping and
is.
Mm-hmm.
Pumping, cleaning the pump parts, rotating all the like, when was this pumped and labeled, and it's mind-boggling what we go through.
Yeah. And I was thinking even too, like when, you start pumping and you're, telling your partner or your husband about like first in, first out, like maybe make sure you grab it from this area. And like my husband knows like my, like, I don't know, rotation now, but like
Your
maybe,
system.
yeah, the system. Yeah. But it was like, I'd be like, wait, did you pull from this one? You're supposed to pull from the top one. And this is where you put the milk and you put it in the back. And it was just kind of funny. And so like, we don't think about, the mental load of all of that is like another full-time job.
And moms are doing it. They're doing it and they're not complaining about it. But to say that it's not creating like an added stress for them, like, I was happy to do it for both my kids because I knew that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to breastfeed for them, as long as I could. But it also came with the territory. And so if we can, I didn't complain about it. I did it, but like, it's not easy. So if we can just make that easier for moms, like, this is an investment in herself. And so that's something that we, continue to champion, that like, moms need an easier path, and we help give them options for that.
Absolutely. And so with the freeze drying process, how can you ensure the safety and quality, and like preserving all the nutrients in the breast milk?
One thing Jenney and I always started when we started this idea and this concept was, we want to be the leader in regards to safety, because and this is a little bit more of my background, being in food and everything, understanding the risks that could be involved. And we also always dedicate ourselves to continually adding and changing and developing and to learn and to make sure that we, are bringing the best to our moms. So we started off, with a different type of essentially group testing. Now we are the only breast milk service that does individual testing for every single mom on their breast milk prior to freeze drying. And the reason that mostly came about is we, have a very strategic partnership with a company that takes breast milk for NICU babies and processes it for NICU babies. And you absolutely cannot skip any step to make sure the safety of even the most vulnerable babies. And so when we came in with the partnership on that, we said, hey, we want to implement these exact testing procedures into our individual moms. And so we do a very intense, pre and post testing to ensure the safety of the mom's milk. And one of the biggest, reasons for that, not just for, our safety our morals and values as a company, but also The reason too is because we do not pasteurize a mom's milk. And that is a very important thing because of the heat we chatted about earlier, was when you do any type of heating or pasteurization, you kill off a lot of the good stuff. And we don't want to do that because there's so many benefits for the mom when she's sending in her own breast milk and wanting her own breast milk back. But that's why the bacteria testing pre and post is so incredibly important, because we do not have that step in this mom, direct to mom service, and makes it again even more crucial, because you don't kill the good stuff. You also could not kill the bad stuff. So we have to test for that bad stuff prior and after. So it's a very important part of our process in order to ensure the safety of the final product for the mom and the baby.
And a lot of moms don't know if their milk is contaminated. And when we say contaminated, it's just a bacteria level that's considered too high for a baby to consume in the hospital setting. And those are the standards that we set for our bacterial tests. And one of the reasons that's important is that, if you fed your baby that milk at home, they might be totally fine. They might be able to, digest it without a problem. But a lot of moms don't know that, like, maybe their pump parts were not sanitized properly, or maybe, she's suffering from mastitis, and it's, the infection is coming through in different ways. So I think that this is it's insight that we can give moms that no other freeze-drying company can do at this point. Insight into her milk, which is so amazing. And we've actually had moms come to us who have had partial, like, freezer thaws, and say, I want to get this freeze dried, but I'm nervous that, like, some bacteria has grown in the time that it, partially thawed, and then I refroze it. And that's a step that we can then give her the reassurance that her milk is safe, because not only does she want to get it freeze dried and preserve it, she wants to make sure it's safe before she does so, And so I think that is a huge advantage to, aligning with Leche in a way that we want to be the leaders in taking care of these steps, so that, moms have the peace of mind, but at the end of the day, their babies are safe.
And so what's the process then, like, for moms? So they send in their breast milk, and then once they receive the breast milk back from you guys, how do they store it? How do they use it? What are those next steps?
Yeah, it's honestly, it's a pretty quick process on our side. So once they order their kit, they get everything they need to ship their milk to Leche. They pack up their frozen milk. It comes to us overnight. We, ensure that it has arrived frozen. We do a quick temperature safety check on it. It goes into, like, a pre-processing step at our lab, and then it goes into freeze dryers after it's been tested. That entire process, between that and then packing, everything is packed individually in, a sterile lab. No two moms are ever processed or packed together, which is another amazing advantage to our service. And then, that whole process takes about 2 to 3 weeks. They get the milk back. You can just keep it in your pantry just like this until you're ready to use it, and take out your little travel sachets when you're ready to go to, your a flight, a spring break, maybe to the park, wherever. We also have a resealable package, like a Leche, everyday Leche is what we call it. I think Trish is going to show it. Yep. Resealable pouch that you can use for at-home bottle feedings, but you just store it in your pantry or some, cool, dry place. It requires no refrigeration. All you do is add water. We have all of our reconstitution instructions on all of our packaging. So, whoops, let me get this in camera view here. I was like, where is the camera? So all of our reconstitution instructions are on the back of each of our individual sachets with Leche Premier, on the back of our everyday Leche, and on the back of our canisters, so that it's super easy for moms caregivers, nanny, babysitter, whoever, to help with feeding.
I love how, like, simple it is, and knowing that it's in good hands. You guys are taking care of it, and the moms kind of can, again, take off that mental load of, like, they're going to do what, like, all the safety and, procedures that we need, and get it back and be able to use it the right way. And so how, if so, do you guys support and guide moms with their questions and during this process, just to kind of, again, ensure them in everything?
It is such a new thing for we can't tell you how many we don't claim to be like the first in this space, or other brands that are doing this. I think that we're doing it in a different way, in the sense that we are doing the bacterial testing. Every mom is individual. There's so many steps that are important to us as moms who have founded this company, that like we are unwilling to sacrifice. That includes, our shipping kit, like the no guess, yeah, all the guesswork taken out of the shipping kit, making it super easy for moms in this. But we're here every step of the way. We have an amazing customer service team. We get a lot of questions through social all the time, because moms are just on Instagram or on TikTok, and like, I think that like we're moms first. Our team, everybody who's operating our team, they're moms, and they understand the importance of like tracking and whereabouts and and like being transparent about the process with moms, because this is precious to them too, and I think that it really takes this company has to be run and founded and operated by moms, because nobody is going to care about it more than we do. Like, we care about their breast milk like more than anybody will. And so I think that that's really the approach we take with all of like our customers, all the questions they have, even leading up to the process, because there's a lot of questions leading up to the process about like how it all works. This is something so new for parents, and the more that we can educate them about the safety of our process, the convenience of it all, how it's all done, and how we communicate with them every step of the way, I think like, we'll be in a really good position to help more moms in the US and hopefully internationally here soon.
Yeah, this is awesome. Well, I mean, just talking to you guys, I mean, this is definitely have sold me, because I was just telling you guys before this, I'm like, I have a small amount left in my freezer, but my daughter's gonna be one soon. And so I want to keep it, but I don't want to take up a ton of space forever, because it probably won't even last that much longer if I just freeze it. So I'm definitely gonna do this, because this sounds awesome. I know we're getting kind of to the end of our interview here, but I always like to ask moms at the very end, if you could have a billboard made today, we could share one tip with moms everywhere, what would you have it say? And it can tie into the business, or it can just tie in general. But I always love hearing people's perspective based on their own mothering journey.
I'll start with this one. And I think this one hits on all different levels, from like being a mom, and having that connection with your child, as well as you personally, is like, there's so much information. There is so much to digest as this essentially new role you're playing as a mom. And even with all of this resource information, anything that's out there, trust your gut. Like, that would be my billboard out there, 100%, because nobody knows your baby better than you, no matter what. And all of these, the information, the resource, all of these things are phenomenal. And we're in such an amazing time where companies and mothers are stepping up to help other mothers. And Jenney and I always talk about, like, we started a company that was a service, but really we started a company because we were a part of a community. And that's the essence of what we want to do. And the community is always there to support you. And it's the most empowering and heart-touching thing to me to see that. But then with all of these, like, just trust your gut. Like, that would be my billboard for moms.
Yeah, and I think from the Leche side, this is going to come in the next couple months too. We have some really big announcements about just how more flexible we're going to make things for moms and parents across the board. But I think from the Leche standpoint is just letting know moms and parents that they have options. And I think that if there's one thing that the formula crisis taught us all, it was that like parents need more options. And we feel really proud to be leading a company and a brand and a service that is giving parents more options, and even more coming in the future. So we're really excited about that.
Awesome. I was going to say, and no pressure to share anything. I know how business works, you can't always share everything, but are there any upcoming developments or innovations or future plans that you guys kind of want in the field of breast milk preservation, or anything you're particularly excited about? And again, you don't have to share, just throwing it out there.
Yes. As we noted earlier, Jenney and I started the company with solving a problem and then finding out many other problems through the process. And our goal has always stayed the same, to give more options to parents. And the really big thing that came to us over the last, year or so was, in your infant feeding journey, you either have the option to exclusively breastfeed or you turn to formula, and there's nothing in between. And it's time for us to create that in between for moms and parents and give them options to be able to, whatever decision and choice they make, they have the option to do it and it's available for them. So a lot of really cool things, but we're filling in this gap in a way that hasn't been seen before. And the goal is not only to give those options, but to empower mothers through this journey. And so we're really pumped up about that. More to come for sure.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Awesome. That's exciting. I love that. I love the constant innovation and development that's coming. So we will definitely be staying tuned for that. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. I loved learning about the science behind it, the process. Like I said, you've completely sold me on this because of where I'm at in my breastfeeding journey as well. But where can our listeners find out more about It's My Leche and your services and what's to come?
Absolutely. You can follow us across all social handles. It's just at It's My Leche, and it's myleche.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. It was so great talking with you guys, and we'll be in touch.
Likewise. Thanks, Krista. Talk
Thank
soon. Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
All right. Thank you so much to Jenney and Trish from It's My Leche for coming on. I just loved learning the science about the process. And like I said, I can't wait to do this with my own frozen breast milk. I don't know, anywhere between 150 and 200 ounces, maybe. I haven't counted it in a while. But I would love to preserve some a little bit longer because, like I said, it's taking up a lot of space in the freezer. And I don't plan on breastfeeding too much longer. So I'd love to have some just to incorporate here and there as my daughter gets a little bit older. So when I do that process and I get my milk back, I'm going to film the whole process because I would love to share it firsthand. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of Mom Talks. Today's show is sponsored by Mommy Knows Best and LaVie Mom, two brands that are dedicated to empowering moms in their pregnancy, breastfeeding, and postpartum journeys. So thank you so much for tuning in. And don't forget to follow us on our socials at Mommy Knows Best and LaVie Mom to join the conversation and stay up to date on future episodes. Remember, moms, you are strong, capable, and empowered. And until next time, take care and keep thriving in motherhood. Bye, guys.